All right, firefighters, we are working on Wednesday, craft and structure. So craft and structure is how the author wrote it, why they wrote it, and how their writing helps us to understand it, because they are purposeful about which words they choose, how they make their paragraphs, what text features they include. So there's 4 questions today. Let's get started. Hopefully you have reread the whole text. If you haven't, you can pause it and read it again now. All right, number 1. How does the author help you understand the meaning of the word disaster? Okay. So if you've read it again, then you'll know where the word disaster is. Okay. I found it here in this second paragraph under rescuers. So if I read it again, a little closer, let's see. Rescuers. Firefighters deal with more than just fires. Every day, problems require firefighters. When there is a threat, firefighters rescue people. They also rescue animals. They show up for accidents. Firefighters come when someone gets hurt. They provide medical care. Firefighters serve during natural disasters like storms and earthquakes. Okay, so here it talks about natural disasters like storms and earthquakes. So natural is an adjective that describes the noun disasters. Okay, they also have a couple other kinds of disasters that they've talked about. Remember, this is the final sentence. Okay, so how does the author help you understand the meaning of the word disaster? To me, when I look at this word, I look at all the other words around it. I look at the sentence that it's in first. So the sentence it's in says, firefighters serve during natural disasters like storms and earthquakes. Natural disasters, we know storms and earthquakes happen in nature. So it makes sense that a natural disaster, okay, a storm could be like a really bad thing, dangerous. Earthquakes, again, very dangerous. They can hurt the earth, animals, plants, people. So to me, both of these things, the words around it mean like something really unfortunate, something bad is happening. Then when I also look up here at the other words in the paragraph, it's talking about the need to rescue people. It's talking about animals. It's talking about accidents. It's talking about people being hurt. So both in this sentence that the word disaster is actually in, and in the entire paragraph, it's basically talking about things that are not good, things that are dangerous. So how does the author help you understand the meaning of the word disaster? The author helps me by, okay, so for me, guys, it's by putting other words and examples around it. So in this sentence, there's actually examples. Like means it's an example, a natural disaster like storms and earthquakes. One way that the author helps you is they give you examples of natural disasters. Another way that the author helps you is give you other sentences around it to help you understand it, the word disaster, okay? So you can talk about the words and the sentences around it and how that helps you to visualize this word if you didn't know at all what it meant. The author chooses the words around it for a reason. Number 2, find the word distress. What does this word mean? Okay, distress is the heading in the 3rd paragraph. Firefighters use many tools during times of distress. Okay, so distress is something that happens at some time. Firefighters use tools. Okay, so you can use tools during a lot of different times. That doesn't tell you too much. So I'm going to keep reading. So all I know so far is that firefighters work during times of distress. So you know something about firefighters. That might help you. They use tools during times of distress. So firefighters are working during distress. Okay, so that's one clue. When people are suffering, firefighters rescue with ladders, hoses, and special tools. Okay, so it talks about people suffering. That might have something to do with it then. They have heavy equipment for different situations. Boats are used for ship fires. They use planes to drop water on mountain fires. Okay, so when I see distress, I know firefighters work in distress. And then after it says that people are suffering, then the firefighters come and rescue them. So if firefighters are using tools, if firefighters are rescuing them, then distress has to do with something with, I would assume it has something to do with suffering, okay? When it talks about suffering, this is when firefighters are working. Firefighters are working when there's distress. Firefighters are working when people are suffering. So therefore, I can say, I bet you that distress is very similar to suffering, because in both sentences right next to each other, it's firefighters working with suffering, firefighters working with distress. So distress and suffering must be very close. So I would say distress means, you can talk how it might mean the same thing as suffering. You can give some examples. You could use a different synonym of what distress means. Use your own words. You can talk about, like, when it says here, if they're rescuing with ladders and hoses and special tools, you could talk about that might be a time of fear, a time where you're in danger. Okay, so all of these examples and definitions help you understand the word distress. Number 3, which text feature does the author use? Okay, I'm going to give you this first part, even though I know you know it. Think about it for a second before I say it. The author uses a certain text feature. Again and again and again, we've been using it this whole time. It's called a heading. Heading. The author uses a heading. Okay, so you're going to explain how using a heading helps you. When it says professionals, how does that help you? Resources, rescuers. I keep reading that wrong. Rescuers, distress, and training. How does reading these headings help you know the information that's going to come below it? And last but not least, what is the author trying to answer, explain, or describe in the last paragraph? Are they answering a question? Are they explaining something? Are they describing something? What are they talking about? In this last paragraph here, it talks about training. Follow the process and you can become a firefighter. First, complete school. Next, attend college classes. After, you must go to firefighting school. There, you will have to pass many tests with accomplishments. You will be ready to get hired by a fire department. Finally, you can rescue people and fight fires. What is the author doing here? Like, why did they include this paragraph? Because the last couple of readings, we've only had 3 sections. Why do you think this last paragraph is important? What does the author want you to know this information? Why does the author want you to know about school and training and ask you what you think? Maybe, like, what are they trying to get you to think of, right? I think the author has an idea that's like, hey, readers, hey, guys, here's some good information and you should know it. Why does the author care when you read this? Like, how does it change your mind about firefighters, or what extra things does it get you to think of?